Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first episode of the Twin City Trio podcast. My name is Gavin Campbell. Alongside me, my two good friends, Tyson Synder and Cale Fleming. Today, we're just going to kind of get into a feel-out episode, being that it's the first episode. But this is something that we've been wanting to start up for a while now, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. And yeah, we're just going to jump right into it here. We're just going to give you a little bit of background of who we are and what we like to do, what we like to cover here on the podcast. Tyson, where did you go to high school, college? What's your background, sports?
I went to high school at Paxton Buckley Loda High School in Paxton, Illinois. I went to college at ISU for a couple years, transferred over to Parkland. I graduated with a certificate in EMT, Emergency Medical Technician, basic. Throughout high school, I played just about every sport you can think of besides lacrosse, which I've always wanted to try but never got a chance.
Cale, how about yourself?
So I also went to PBL with Tyson. We both graduated in 2015. We've been friends for a long time, as Gavin said. But I played a little bit of baseball, a little bit of football, basketball in middle school. Really wasn't good at basketball. I just stuck with baseball and football. But yeah, that's about where I went. When I go to college, I've been to college 3 times now. This is actually the third try. I've been to Parkland all 3 times. First time I went for kinesiology, didn't like it at all. Second time I went for EMS, I also didn't like it at all. The third time I'm now attending Parkland for communications with media arts and productions focus. So that way hopefully I can be like a chief engineer for somebody like ESPN or whoever it may be, anything sports related. I just want to run a telecast or a live radio show. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's about where I'm at.
Absolutely. For myself, I graduated from Urbana High School 3 years ago. Ended up attending Parkland College just like these guys. I graduated actually just this past month in May with a general studies degree for what that's worth, but ended up getting accepted into Indiana University just this past week. I'm really looking forward to getting my degree from there in communication sciences. But like Cale said, I want to get into more of the broadcasting, producing, not so much the producing side, but anything that has to do with sports that, you can just sit down and really look at the analytics, the statistics, and, just really dive into, more than just what sports are and, how they're played and, different players in that aspects, the real meat of why we watch sports, right? But other than that, that's about it. What we're going to be doing on the show is today is talking about the NBA, MLB, not so much the NHL, NFL, although that's what we will be covering. Also Illinois sports as well as Central Illinois prep sports, football, basketball, baseball, whatever it may be. Just because we sometimes think it doesn't get enough credit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump into, just to start things off, one of our favorite sports memories. Just to kind of get things started. Cale, if you want to go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and go with the 2013 Stanley Cup Finals. As most of you know, the Chicago Blackhawks won it. The thing that, or what makes it my favorite, besides the 2016 World Series, obviously, big Cubby fan over here. But the thing that made the 2013 Stanley Cup Finals was that the Chicago Blackhawks scored 2 goals in less than 17 seconds against Boston in their home ice. That's pretty remarkable because Boston had a really solid team that year. And not to mention that, with those 2 goals that we scored, we went ahead and sealed that game sealed the finals in Game 6 and took home the cup. So that was a pretty good feeling watching Brian Bickle and Caves and Kaner and Crow and everybody else just work together and get that cup home to Chicago. So that's just my favorite memory. Pretty remarkable. You can't really beat 2 goals in 17 seconds when sometimes you go an entire hockey game without scoring, 2 goals in 60 minutes. So for me, that's just a pretty amazing feat that they could do that in the Stanley Cup final. So, Tyson?
And Cale's already mentioned it, but my favorite memory's got to be that 2016 the World Series win for the Cubs. My favorite memory was just that very last out, watching Chris Bryant throw it with that big old smile on his face. There's nothing else that I can remember that was that big of a reliever as watching him throw that out and how happy he was and how happy the team was. Just to see that. I've only been a fan for 20 years since I've been alive. I can't imagine what that weight lifted off of the chest of all the older fans out there and whatnot felt like. So for me, it was great. I can't imagine what it was like for everybody else, but that's definitely my favorite memory.
Going off of that real quick, a lot of Cubs fans aren't even alive to be able to see a World Series win and to see that this mix of young guys and mix of old veteran leadership, with David Ross and Jason Hayward, John Lester with, mentoring KB and Rizzo and everybody else. That was just an amazing feat to see. All of these mix of perfect guys along with the great baseball minds of Joe Madden and Jed Hoyer and Theo Epstein. That was just remarkable seeing all that.
And not to mention, you don't even have to be a Cub fan to be able to appreciate
Absolutely.
what they were able to do.
Absolutely.
Not just the fact that they won it, but being down 3-1 to a Cleveland team that many thought were going to run away with it.
Right, and if you can't respect that the Cubs won the 2016 World Series, then you can't really respect the game of baseball, in my opinion.
Right, and there's Cardinal fans that'll tell you that. They still give credit.
Absolutely, and I really appreciate that from Cards fans because we've been through a lot just like they have. They've won a lot of rings. They're right up there with the Yankees. Whether they won 5 or 6 or something like that, I don't know. They've won a lot of rings. So, Gav, what about you?
Oh, sure. Mine, I'd have to say, I'm a huge Chicago Bears fan. I've been a fan since I was probably 6 years old. Ever since I was able to pick up a football and throw it the right way, let's say that. But no, 2006 when the Bears defeated the Saints in the NFC Championship game, for me, watching Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, Devin Hester, as much as I hate to say it, Rex Grossman, Ozzie Muhammad, those guys just being able to, that defense really put the offense on its back and reach the Super Bowl and going up against one of the greatest of all time in Peyton Manning, and don't forget Harrison and Reggie Wayne and those guys. Really one of the I'd probably put that offense top 10 all time that even made it there. But if I'm going to put a little icing on top, I would have to say Devin Hester's opening kickoff return for a touchdown has got to be up there. And one of my memories, I can remember myself being 10 years old watching that game and going absolutely nuts. As well as it was like almost being in the stadium with all the cameras going off, him pointing up to the scoreboard. I mean, it's something I'll never forget.
I'm not even a Bears fan, and I thought that was awesome. So,
people, this is just a side note, people think that I don't like Peyton Manning for that game, but I gotta respect it. I gotta respect what he was able to do.
You gotta respect the sheriff.
Absolutely, and not only that, even when he won it with the Broncos against MVP Cam and the Panthers, that was as much as it was on the defense to win that game. I mean, you still got to put it on Peyton Manning for getting them there. But getting into things, we're going to hand it over to Cale here, and then we'll go ahead and start the show.
So right now, we're going to go through, and we're going to kind of make up a little mock draft ourselves, because obviously everybody, we got the draft coming up on Thursday the 21st. Starts approximately about, 6 p.m., I think?
Yeah.
So the three of us are going to sit down here, and we're going to go through a little bit of a draft. But we're going to start off with what you guys think, personally, the top prospects are in this draft. Let's maybe, 5 or 6. Let's see who you guys think should go first in this first round. Tyson, what do you got?
Well, my top prospect right now is DeAndre Ayton.
For sure.
Out of Arizona. Big man, physical, extreme talent. I think he's got one of the biggest upsides in this draft. He was hurt a little bit of last year, didn't play all the games. But I think he's just a phenomenal talent. Definitely a guy you want on your team.
Absolutely. Gab, what do you got?
I agree with Ayton as a tremendously talented player. I've heard a lot of people comparing him to a smaller Shaq with a jump shot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing outside probably 15 feet because we haven't gotten to the three-point shot yet, but I'm sure that's something that he can develop.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I still have to go with Luka Doncic out of the EuroLeague, Real Madrid. This guy was not only the MVP of the EuroLeague, but was also MVP of the EuroLeague Finals.
Yep.
And doing that at not even 20 years old, I think is something that and we know the EuroLeague is not the NBA, but it's the next best thing when it comes to basketball. So, and that gap is also closing year by year because of all the talent. Not everyone can play in the NBA. Not everyone can get into the G League or even wants to be in the G League with the salaries that are going on right now. But that's a story for a different day. The fact that he was able to capture both MVP awards in one season at such a young age really speaks to his talent. I know some people have had concerns. Him being 6'7", 6'8", and ball handling ability, and even just his weight, the fact that he's 6'7", 230, 235, that raises some eyebrows. But to me, just the sheer shooting aspect, the way that he's been able to facilitate the basketball, and really bring some of that European vibe to the NBA, I really think that he would be a good fit anywhere, and that overall he's the best player in this draft. Because the NBA is starting to become a more guard-driven league.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
we're starting to move
absolutely.
away from the big man position, or at least the traditional big man position. We've seen guys like Karl Anthony Towns, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic kind of transform the NBA in the big man position. But we see guys like Steph Curry and guys like that are able to shoot the ball from tremendous ranges and really utilize the three-point shot. So I think a lot of other teams are moving away from the traditional big man and picking up on guard play.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I got Doncic up there.
Yeah, so even with guard play, though, you got Ben Simmons coming in at 6'10". What is he, almost 225? I mean, that's a big body for
Absolutely.
a guard in a one spot. So maybe – I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I don't mind, honestly, seeing a big body like that who's been able to move and slash and drive. Now, he can't shoot from the outside very well, but this was his rookie season, so hopefully he'll be able to overcome that, and we'll be able to see a little more.
Well, and LeBron's 6'8", too. He brings the ball up at over half the time they come down the court, too. So there's nothing wrong with having big guys bring up the ball.
I kind of like seeing that a little more, to be honest with you, though.
Right. I think with some coaches and even some analysts, when you have guys that are 6'8" versus a guy that's like 6 feet tall, I think it just comes down to how quickly can you get the ball from your hand to the floor.
Right.
And that comes with the burst.
Absolutely.
We see guys like Kyrie Irving and even Isaiah Thomas before his injury, and how they were able to get that first step and get to the basket. And I think when you're that tall, it physically hinders you from being able to do that. Although we know LeBron is a freight train, 6'8", 250.
Right, yeah.
You're not going to stop that.
No, not at all.
That's kind of an anomaly because we all know that he probably could have been playing football somewhere, but instead of playing tight end, he wanted to be a small
still got
forward in the
offers.
NBA. Exactly. So I really I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I feel like it comes more naturally to guards, which is why I think they tend to lean towards a more guard-driven offense. Kind of like Chris Paul and James Harden, the way they were able to share things. I mean, Clint Capella was still, part of their offense, a big part of their offense, especially on the boards. But, him being the third option and always being able to, catch the lob, get the offensive rebound, kick it back out, and if you surround him with shooters, he's quote-unquote their LeBron, because LeBron, that's what he does. He either drives or he kicks it out to a shooter. So, essentially, you either have James Harden, Chris Paul, either drive, pull up, or you got Clint Capella as your third option, either hit Ariza, Tucker, whoever's open on the wing. So, I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I just feel like Doncic would fit in any NBA offense today rather than Ayton. And yes, you could build around him, but at the same time, there's more development that needs to be there than I think compared to Doncic.
And with the Suns having the first pick, they got to kind of build around Devin Booker a little bit as well.
Absolutely.
So they need a kind of a younger big man to help that rebuild. And I personally feel like Ayton would be a better fit for that.
And he would be.
Because, he's 7 foot. He's got a 7 foot wingspan, obviously, and he's 261 pounds. So obviously he could probably cut a little bit of weight, be a little more faster, a little more agile. But being he's 7 foot 261, that's a pretty big dude. That's pretty solid. He's got a solid frame.
Absolutely, he's an animal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's just the thing is that maybe that's what they need. They need somebody down there with some, low block presence, somebody that can just be an absolute force to keep up with guys, that have been in the league for a while, like Boogie Cousins.
Right.
Somebody that can push Boogie Cousins around a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, there's talk of the Suns throwing a max offer at Clint Capella. Now, obviously, that's rumors at this point. I don't know how serious they are about it. But with that said, that's where you come with the Doncic scenario, and pairing him with Booker in the backcourt. That would be one of the scariest front courts, backcourt. Excuse me.
And you could build around Luka as well too. Not saying they have to get Ayton and build around him. You could definitely build around Luka. But I think the difference between the two is Luka, he's already got such a high floor. There's not much left to get to the ceiling. He can still develop, but I think Ayton, he's got a low floor right now. He's got a lot to go. He's got plenty of room where he can develop.
Superstar potential.
Exactly.
Right. And I see that the Booker-Ayton duo would also be a scary thing.
Oh, yeah.
You can't go wrong if you're Phoenix in this situation.
No.
You really can't. Unless there's those people out there. There's a small percentage of people think Luka's going to be a bust. I don't see that with him. The confidence is there. The skill is there.
6'8" dude that can dribble the ball well.
Absolutely.
Chances he's not going to fail.
Exactly.
Just for some specs on Luka. Luka is 6'7", 220.
Right.
Yep.
So I think they trimmed that down a little bit for the website because I think the official NBA had him at pushing 230.
6'8" and 230.
So I'm sure they probably bumped that up a little bit.
Right. Absolutely.
But one more thing that I want to add about the Suns situation is that their new head coach that they signed a few months ago, Igor Kokoskov, he was Doncic's head coach in the EuroLeague at one point.
Right.
So if there's a connection and he really enjoyed playing for his coach, why would he not go to his coach and say, "Hey, draft me"?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, it comes down to whatever Phoenix's front office wants to do. But you can't go wrong.
I feel like Phoenix is going to work around Devin Booker, though.
Absolutely.
Because Devin Booker, I feel like, is going to have a little bit more say than what this head coach is going to have, which is kind of sad, but that's kind of how the NBA has kind of worked out in the past 4 or 5 years.
Very well could.
So I just feel like Devin Booker may have a little more say in it as well.
Well, and he's the only player with superstar
superstar,
caliber potential that they have.
Yeah.
It's not that Phoenix is short on guards either.
No.
They need a big man. Tyson Chandler, he's he needs to go. Alex Lynn, not for the future.
Tyson Chandler's been playing since we were kids.
He was great at one point. He's still good, but
yeah, I mean, he was great on the Knicks. He was great in Dallas when they made their championship run, but that was 7 years ago.
Right.
Yep.
So and he did win Defensive Player of the Year. I believe it was in 2012, 2013, something like that.
So I want to move on from Ayton and Luka. I kind of want to talk about Bagley and Porter Jr.
Oh, for sure.
Marvin Bagley, where do you guys think he's going to end up? Gav, we'll start with you.
I got Bagley going third to the Hawks.
Okay.
I know a lot of people don't have that just because Bagley's a raw athlete and the basketball skill level really isn't at what it should be for a guy of his size and caliber playing at Duke. But I think playing under Coach K really taught him a lot more than what we saw. I think that he just relied more of his raw talent than anything else, rather than his basketball IQ. So I have him going there. A lot of people have him, the Hawks taking Jackson Jr. out of Michigan State.
Yeah,
which he's arguably pound for pound probably the best defender in this draft.
Yep.
And I think that he's NBA ready. Not that I wouldn't like him on the Hawks, but I like the pairing of an athlete like Bagley with John Collins, an already athletic 5 who's pretty good around the rim. He had a decent rookie season too. Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder's hit and miss with me I don't think that he's the best.
He can be really good when he wants to be.
Exactly. I don't think he's the best facilitator of the offense, but when it comes to one-on-one scenarios, I think that he can take some guys off the dribble. Not the best of the best, but the average NBA point guard.
He can compete with the rest of the league, though.
So that's why I think Bagley would be a good option for him, being able to pair up with John Collins and have twin towers down low. Now Kent Bazemore's still there, not the same 3 that he was because Taurean Prince has taken over more minutes, which I expect him to take the next step.
Right.
But if they still want to go with a 3, which Jackson can guard, pretty much 1 through 4.
Yep.
Sometimes he can guard centers. It's hit and miss. I wouldn't trust him to do it in big games or late game situations. But if the Hawks definitely want to work on their defense, they could definitely take him. But I got him taking Bagley.
For sure. Tyson, what about you?
I've got Bagley up to second to the Kings.
That's where I got Bagley at as well.
I think he's just a tremendous talent. I think he's got too much potential, too much game-ready talent right now. He put up just about the best stats in the league, in the NCAA league this year, as far as an all-around player goes. So I just don't see the Kings passing on him. He'll go top 3 for sure, but I've got him going number 2.
Absolutely.
In my opinion, the only 2 players we heard about really all season until you got to March Madness, the only 2 players you heard about was Trae Young in Oklahoma and Bagley. Those are the only 2 players that I really ever heard about, but I also don't follow college basketball up until March. So, other than the Illini.
Ayton's name was definitely out there, but he was quiet on a Pac-12 team.
Not the best basketball conference.
Exactly.
Definitely top heavy. So, if you have a guy that's that talented going to a mediocre conference, I mean, you're gonna get inflated numbers. Which, not to say that it won't transfer to the NBA, but you don't get the full story.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Absolutely.
One thing that I did want to add, though, real quick, is that, I mean, you guys have Bagley going to the Kings. The only reason that I have Bagley down a spot is because I have the Suns taking Doncic. So that means Ayton would obviously go to Sacramento.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Even if Sacramento already has a couple big men lined up, you're not going to take the best player available. Honestly, it's Sacramento, so I wouldn't be surprised because they've made umpteen mistakes in the past. So it's like, again, it wouldn't surprise me, but you really can't go wrong with DeAndre Ayton. So that's why I got him at number 2.
Let's get over to Michael Porter Jr. Where do you guys feel Michael Porter's going to end up at? Even though he spent a lot of the year on the bench hurt, so we got to keep that in mind as well.
I have Michael Porter Jr. slipping down to 6. I know a lot of mock drafts out there have him at
Orlando.
4. Yeah, I've got him going down to Orlando to the Magic, sell a couple tickets for them. The Magic are kind of in a tight spot. They need just about everything. Now, like you said, Michael Porter, he is an injury question. He was out all year until March Madness. He played 2 games before that in the championship, in the tournament, I think. But he's a great athlete. He's an outstanding player from what we saw in high school. But we just don't have a whole lot to go off in college. So a lot of people have him going a little bit higher, but I have him going down at 6 to the Magic.
Yeah, over the past few weeks, his draft stock has been rising just because of the hype that people are trying to put on his name, and rightly so, just from what we've seen. But like you said, it's a big question mark, Cale, in that we haven't seen enough. The sample size isn't as big as I would like it to be for me to take that risk on him with maybe a top 10 pick. We're definitely top 5, which is definitely possible because there's talk of the Memphis Grizzlies drafting Michael Porter Jr. because they're looking to trade Chandler Parsons in his terrible contract. But if the Hawks do end up drafting Jackson Jr. out of Michigan State, I have the Grizzlies taking Bagley. So if he drops to number 4, which means Michael Porter Jr. would be available, and I have him dropping to the Chicago Bulls at number 7. Only because I have the Magic taking Trae Young at 6. I feel like the Magic would be in a situation, like you said, to sell tickets, that they want to get the it factor, the unknown factor, to bring fans in and come see, what's going on. Because their team, outside of Aaron Gordon, they really don't have any talent on that roster.
Right.
And that's no disrespect to anyone else, because I like players on that team. Terrence Ross is a solid role player. Jonathan Simmons a good role player. Evan Fournier is even a good scorer, but as a starter and him being your second best player, I think that you need to bring in something to really get your crowd into it, and just kind of retool, really rebuild, actually, because they have so many bad contract centers on this team with Vucevic, Biyombo.
Right.
Until they got rid of Serge Ibaka, he was their third. But no, yeah, I got Trae Young going to the Magic.
I just personally feel like Michael Porter Jr., only being a freshman, by the way, Michael Porter Jr. is listed on this website. It's coming from the NBA.com, their official draft page. They have him listed at 6'10", 210. But personally, I don't really understand why he declared for the draft, other than obviously to follow, his career and to make money. Obviously, I understand that. But only playing maybe a cumulative 5 to 10 games.
He wanted to declare out of high school.
Right.
But you got to play your college, so he didn't care if he played.
Which they're
or
looking
not.
to switch, but as of right now, that's the rule.
Yeah.
But he's only a freshman too, so I would have honestly liked to see him not declare for the draft and stay another year at Mizzou, basically because I kind of want to see that matchup with the potential Samba Kane and Michael Porter Jr. at the bragging rights game this year. But that's just me. I just don't really understand that maneuver. Other than to chase chase that paycheck.
His draft stock would have risen if he stayed another year. He would have been a top 3 for sure. Now there's top that he slips somewhere in the top 10.
Maybe this is something that he thought about, that he didn't want to go to one of these lottery teams. Maybe he does slip out of the top 10 potentially. And say he ends up going to the Sixers if he's available. I guarantee you, if he's available at number 10, the Sixers will scoop him up. Because they need a 3 as it is. I mean, no disrespect to Robert Covington, but all defense. But if he can get drafted by the Sixers, I think that's an instant fit. And I don't see why he would slip that far. But I definitely agree that if he would have stayed in school, he would be a top 3 pick next year, undoubtedly.
Oh yeah, agreed. Yeah, that's a no doubt.
So let's kind of move on here a little bit. Let's talk about Cleveland. Let's talk about Cleveland and that 8th round pick. Do you think they're going to keep it, or do you guys think they're going to give it up? Personally, I feel like it's all going to depend on what LeBron does.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, what's your guys' takes on that?
Tyson, I'll let you go ahead.
I think Cleveland's going to keep their pick. They're not going to trade it away. I think they've got to be counting on LeBron leaving at this point. A dude's got to be tired of losing there by now. LeBron's going to – I don't know for sure. There's plenty of rumors out there, but I think he's leaving. He'll find somewhere that's going to pay him just as much that he can actually win a championship.
There's one big rumor going around that I heard on the Will Kane show a couple days ago that LeBron may end up in L.A. Basically because there's a report going around that's the same high school I think Marvin Bagley Jr. went to, that LeBron's son's actually enrolled there, but they also said that the high school came out in Scottie Pippen's son.
Yes.
That's it. That's who I was thinking of. Scottie Pippen's son, but the school came out and
also
said,
Kenyon Martin's son. There's 3 of them.
Okay. So there's a lot of talent coming, or a lot of talent potentially coming out of that high school in the next 4 to 5 years. But I heard that report saying that that's all just kind of not true. So whether that's LeBron giving them guys a paycheck saying keep this quiet because I don't want this getting out, or whether it's actually not true at all. But also, LeBron's got a lot of real estate too in LA as well.
He just purchased another home last year.
So he's kind of leading some clues in my head that he may actually end up maybe leaning toward LA. Especially with that report coming out that his son may potentially be enrolled in that high school out there. So that's just my take on it, Gav. What about you?
I mean, I don't see why not. I definitely could see LeBron in the purple and gold. Along with actually talks of Kawhi Leonard.
That's
his preferred destination is the Lakers.
Yeah.
So that could happen.
What happens with Lonzo Ball, though, if this happens?
Well,
I'm probably getting my cart ahead of the horse, but what happens to Lonzo Ball?
I definitely think that he's going to have to be gone.
Yeah, I do too.
I do too. The riffraff of
No.
So
LeBron won't put up with that crap.
Absolutely not. And Magic Johnson will do anything he can to get his hands on the king.
Absolutely.
So it's
Magic Johnson's come out 5 times and tried to get LeBron out there.
LeBron, Paul George.
Every chance he gets a chance, he's out
imagine
there trying
that.
to get LeBron.
Paul
Him
George.
and Rob Pelinka have both been fined for recruiting.
Right, yeah, for sure. But Paul George, Kawhi, LeBron,
you already have a team that rivals Golden State right there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Now you would have to gut the roster for that, and I think the only player that would be left is maybe Kuzma.
They got to keep Kyle Kuzma
Kuzma.
because he's a decent 3-point shooter.
Yeah, but I think you may have to end up trading him. However, they're going to do it if they're going to trade for Paul George, or they're going to if they acquire LeBron through trade or if they can sign him outright after getting Kawhi Leonard. It really comes down to when they get Kawhi Leonard on the team, if they're going to.
Do you think that the Kawhi Leonard decision could factor into the LeBron James decision? Who do you think is going to sign first? Do you think it's going to be Kawhi, or do you think it's going to be LeBron?
It's going to be LeBron because the Spurs aren't going to deal him yet.
Okay.
Because he is under contract for another year.
Oh, okay.
And the Spurs are in no rush. They have until February, the trade deadline.
LeBron's contract's up. He's looking to sign somewhere
But
already.
he does have a player option, which brings me back to the pick that they could potentially trade it because if LeBron opts into his deal and he wants to go to Boston, well, now you can trade Gordon Hayward, the pick, and LeBron James to Boston, along with maybe a Marcus Morris, Marcus Smart, make the money work.
Right.
And now Cleveland's got a competitive roster.
Right.
So I say competitive in the Eastern Conference.
There's not much in the East anyway. So
exactly. I mean, you have
they were already competitive.
Without LeBron, you have Boston and then everybody else,
and possibly Toronto.
Possibly if they figure out what
they got a lot of moves they got to make too. So, but yeah. I don't know, that LeBron and now Kawhi Leonard, that decision is going to, or that transaction is going to be fun to watch.
Getting back to it real quick, if they have the 8th pick, I mean, you can get a quality NBA player. With
absolutely.
I mean, we've seen guys go, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell go in the late lottery. So I mean, it's not like you can't find a good player. But again, it's all going to come down to what the Cavs and LeBron are going to do, where he wants to go, and if he's willing to communicate that with the front office, then we should have some things coming out within the next couple weeks.
Right on. So we've kind of already touched on it, but I want to hear all of your guys' picks in order. We touched on the key players, but there may be a few that we're missing. So let's just go through, for a little bit here on your guys' actual mock drafts, not the top prospects. So I want to hear from Tyson. I'm going to kind of mediate when I hear a pick that I may or may not disagree with. So let's start with yours. Let's start with your 14.
Well, I think we can agree the top 3. Ayton, Bagley, Doncic, whatever order you want to put that.
So they're going to go somehow. Let's kind of move on down the line. We've already kind of touched on
we'll start at pick 4. Suns, Kings, Hawks getting those top 3 guys.
Real quick, we didn't touch on that, but a backcourt of Dennis Schroeder and Luka Doncic could be really nice for the Hawks with John Collins at center and Torian Prince and those guys. Just putting that out there.
That's kind of why I had Doncic going at 3 to the Hawks, because they need help just about everywhere. You can get away with Dennis Schroeder. You can get away with their big man.
But it's not like you couldn't trade his contract. Dennis Schroeder's on a decent contract.
Doncic, he can play that 1 through 3 position pretty easily. So I think he just helps the Hawks all the way around. So that's why I had him at 3. But going on from there, the Grizzlies at 4. I had the Grizzlies taking Jaren Jackson Jr. I think huge dude, 6'11". He gets a piece of just about everything. He's all over the court. Now, I think the Grizzlies do need to fill some holes. They need a big man, and I think Jaren Jackson can be that big man. He stretches the floor. He shoots well from outside. He's a phenomenal athlete. He's just over 40% from three-point land. Now, he didn't have a huge sample size.
Being 6'11", 236.
6'11",
236.
That's a big dude raining bombs from three-point land. Now, and over 40%, that's good for
anybody.
Anybody.
At the collegiate level.
Exactly. I think he's a great pick at number 4 for the Grizzlies. He helps fill a lot of those holes that they've got.
And the Grizzlies need all the help they can get. Absolutely. The roster's been pretty much gutted, and we expect Tyreek Evans, after the incredible season that he had, to go to a contender.
Right,
You want to
keep going?
Did you want to keep going or you want me to?
Just keep going.
Okay. All right. Well, and then at 5, the Mavs, I've got them taking Bamba. Another big man, Mohamed Bamba.
We didn't talk
Texas.
about Mohamed Bamba yet.
We haven't, but he is definitely a top 5 talent.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I just feel like he's not going to go top 5. Personally,
if the Mavs don't take him at 5, the Magic or the Bulls. Well, see, that comes down to best available player. But then the Magic, you don't need another big man, so you're going to need to do something in that situation. But if Bamba falls to the Bulls, you get Robin Lopez out of there. And you bring in him.
You got to get rid
either
of
that
Robin
or Wendell Carter or something else. But I'll get to my pick. You go
right. But once again, Banama, another phenomenal talent, 7-footer. He pure upside. He's a little bit raw right now, but as far as his stats goes, he averaged 13 and 10, 13 points, 10 rebounds.
Not to mention the defense.
Yeah. 3.7 blocks a game. That's per 26 minutes or something. So he's just outstanding on the defensive end, which definitely helps the Mavs. You got it best way to win games, outscore your opponent. Best way to outscore your opponent, make sure they can't score.
In basketball, I would rather watch a superb defender than a supreme scorer.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing more exciting than welcome to some dude's block party.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man.
And Muhammad Bamba, he's just absolutely got that potential.
I'm pretty sure he has, what, a 7'8"?
7'9" wingspan.
7'9" wingspan. I mean, that is unfathomable.
That's like 2 feet taller.
That's the Dikembe Mutombo status. You know?
Yeah.
That's, we haven't had one of those in over a decade.
Actually, Bamba's wingspan's over 7'10".
Yep, there we go.
So he's 7 foot long, 7 foot and 3/4 in shoes.
So pretty much 7'1" with almost an 8-foot wingspan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw something too that said his standing he can reach like 9'10" or something.
So
like
he can
that.
almost dunk the ball.
Yeah,
standing.
he can almost dunk standing.
He's 226 pounds as well, so he's not small.
No,
not small.
He's
But
got
I
a
still
decent-
think he needs to fill out. About
He's
10,
very
15
similar
pounds.
to like Clint Capella.
Absolutely.
When
Tall,
lanky,
Clint came into the league, he was raw.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you know, if Bamba can sit behind Dirk or even play with Dirk in his last year and get
I think Dirk will
acclimated.
definitely help him develop.
Absolutely. In the next 2 to 3 years, we could be looking at another Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah, yep, for sure. My number 6 pick to the Magic, we already touched on it a little bit. I had Michael Porter Jr. going there. I think he helps them sell tickets, big name guy. A little bit of injury potential, but the Magic, once again, another team that needs just about all the help they can get. So I don't think they're worried too much about the injuries. They're willing to sit there and develop him so they'll have someone in the future that they can build around and take that to.
Real quick, I just want to break in with something real quick. I just got this update from ESPN.com. Barry Trotz is the head coach for the Washington Capitals. They just won the Stanley Cup this year. His contract was up at the end of this season on May 3rd. I just got an update from ESPN saying that he actually went ahead and resigned. That's big news.
So he retired.
He retired.
Yep.
That's big news for the Capitals.
Way to go out on top.
He went out on top. I just want to say congratulations to Barry Trotz. Well deserved. But that's going to be a tough thing to overcome for the Washington Capitals. I'm sorry. I just wanted to break in with that.
No, breaking news during the show.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and let us know.
Go ahead with continue with your picks, Tyson.
All right, well, I think we just about covered Michael Porter Jr. at number 6. So the Bulls, number 7. I've been a Bulls fan for as long as I can remember. I've been a little disappointed in the last couple of years.
Everybody's been disappointed with Gary Paxton.
Not scoring enough points. To fix that, I have the Bulls taking Trae Young. I really hope he slips this low down to number 7 out of Oklahoma. Dude averages over 27 points a game, over 8 assists a game. He's a great facilitator. That's exactly what the Bulls need. They're okay on the defensive end. They need someone to control everything. They need someone to just put the ball in the hoop, score some baskets.
Well, see, that's the one thing that I didn't like about him is that he was hot during the beginning of the season, and then right before the tournament went absolutely cold. Even in the tournament, ice cold.
Right.
And I hate the comparisons to Steph Curry because he's not. For anyone that thinks he's going to be Steph Curry, he's never going to get to that point.
Absolutely
and
not.
I really hate people to say like, oh, draft this guy and have him shoot 25 times a game, you'll win every time. If you live and die by the 3, and we've seen that not only with Golden State, there's other teams like Houston that have tried to adopt that style of play. And just for me, I don't know if I want to take the risk on it if I'm Chicago. I would rather take a more, I don't even know what the word would be, a more complete player.
Yeah, that's fair.
And not only that, I mean, he is undersized. Not that, when you're a shooter, we've seen guys like Isaiah Thomas, even Steph Curry.
Steph Curry's not that big.
Steph
Curry's not that big
so,
either.
Just for me, I don't like that aspect of it just because I feel like the conference he played in as well, Oklahoma.
Yep.
I believe they're in the
Big 12. Not Big 12.
The Big 12. Pac-12, right?
No, Big 12.
It's
not
big.
Pac-12.
It's the Big 12.
Yep. There's 2 of them. I get them mixed up.
Yeah, me too. I do too.
That conference, and I mean, I've also heard Skip Bayless talk about him because he's a big Sooner fan. So, and take that with a grain of salt for what it is.
It's coming from Skip
Bayless.
I know that he covers Oklahoma sports
right,
like tremendously. So just from that and him getting the vibe of like he could be hit and miss, I don't know if I want to take that swing.
So in my head right now, what you just said about the Big 12, you're kind of missing one of the best basketball schools in that conference. Kansas.
Right.
Kansas, and he put up some decent numbers against Kansas. And Kansas
beat Kansas twice.
Yeah,
twice.
they did.
And he put up good numbers.
Yep.
So that being said, if he can put up numbers, now Kansas wasn't a typical Kansas team, but they're still Kansas. It's still Bill Self.
They were still a 1 seed.
And they're still a 1 seed in the tournament. So if he can, in my head, if he can put up numbers that well against a decent, solid team, then that kind of earns more respect and more higher draft stock in my head.
I would agree with you if we didn't have other conferences like the Big Ten where they're so top heavy and you have 5-6 teams.
That's also why we have 10 or 12 players in the Big Ten are declaring for the draft as well. Right. So, yeah.
And I'm not saying that because I'm an Illinois fan either. I'm an Indiana fan. That's just the Big Ten has always been, at least for the past few years, it's been a stacked conference.
They're solid in every sport.
I was about to say not just basketball, football as well.
Everything.
Whenever we talk about
they're a powerhouse.
You know, you got Ohio State, you got Purdue, you got Michigan, you got all these teams, Wisconsin especially.
Yes.
I mean, when I look at a conference like that, and then I look at the Big 12 and compare the two.
There's some validity to that. It's just that, in my head I see his numbers against Kansas, and I just think, wow, okay, well, he's got to be halfway decent in order to be able to put up numbers like that. So
absolutely, I just think in the NBA you have to be able to do more than just shoot the ball. He didn't play defense very well at Oklahoma,
but he averaged like 8 assists a game.
Yes, he did. But also, I'm thinking in that kind of situation, like I said, the Big 12 conference. Not that 8 assists isn't impressive. In the college game, 8 assists is top of the line. Now, when you get to the NBA, are you going to be able to get 5, 6, 7 assists a game?
Hopefully.
Well, I think with a name like his, people know he wants to shoot the ball.
Right.
So I think he's going to draw a lot of defense, and it's going to open a guy up during the game. So I think he'll still maintain that assist number.
Even in a place like Orlando, where they don't have a lot of talent.
Okay, maybe Orlando, not so much. But if he were to go somewhere...
Like you said, if he goes to the Bulls, I could see that happening when you're dishing it to guys like Zach LaVine, Chris Dunn.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Even Lowry marketing.
Right, yeah, Lowry. I mean, Lowry's no joke either. He's a legit player. That's a good, solid pickup for the Bulls.
But I think he just helps them stretch the floor, kind of open some guys up, and hopefully score some buckets for them.
If you're drafting him for the sole purpose of stretching the floor, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
If you stick him and Lowry out there at the same time, and then you have to worry about Zach LaVine crashing the lane.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that you're fine. And Chris Dunn on defense is also a plus.
Right,
so
absolutely.
I'll go ahead and take that.
Right. Like I said, I think the Bulls have had enough defense in years past. I think their problem right now is just scoring buckets. So we've worried about defense too much. Go get someone that can actually drive and score the ball or shoot if he needs to. At number 8, I've got the Cavs keeping their pick, like we talked about. I've got the Cavs taking Wendell Carter Jr. If LeBron does decide to go elsewhere, I think he's a decent replacement for them. He played alongside Marvin Bagley. Don't hear his name as much, but he's a good player, all around great stats. He was over 40% from three-point land as well. He averaged 13 and 9 with 2 blocks and 2 assists a game. So he's an all-around good player, good on defense. He gives them a little bit more room. He's got the size to go to the 4 position, the power forward, but ideally he can play the 3 if LeBron leaves.
And that also is, keep in mind, that's if the Cavs keep that 8th round pick.
Yeah, or if LeBron stays, he gives them another great scoring option.
Yeah, I mean, if he does want to finish out his career in Cleveland,
I don't see it.
Cement his legacy, and he can do it. But it's going to be his decision ultimately. So.
Yep.
Shaq came out the other day and said LeBron doesn't need more rings to complete his legacy.
I don't think he does, but I mean, for the sake of argument, I mean, if he could win at least 1 or 2 more, I think that you could have a really...
Of our generation, the 3 of us in this room, LeBron's going to be the best player we'll ever see.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's nobody coming up like him, but
Kobe,
continue on. Well, okay, Kobe, but continue on.
All right. Number 9, I got the Knicks taking Miles Bridges out of Michigan State, another Big Ten guy.
For sure.
6'6", he's athletic. One of the highest rated college players almost all year. Dude consistently showed that he was able to make plays with the ball in his hands. He's a pass and shoot kind of guy. He can do it all. He stretches the floor again, just like we were talking about with Trae Young. He can pass, he can drive, he can shoot. I've got him there. He's another big man that they can kind of stack up there with Kristaps. He adds a little bit of defense to their roster. Helps them kind of level out their team a little bit. And then number 10, I've got the Sixers taking Colin Sexton. A lot of people had Sexton going a little bit higher. Super energetic young dude. I think he'd fit well with the Sixers. Like I said, lots of energy. They got a lot of young talent on their team.
Yeah, he's probably one of my favorite players in this draft just because of the it factor that he brings to the team. Him carrying that Alabama squad to the tournament was probably one of the most underlying stories of the entire college basketball season. And it just an absolute spark plug, and I love that kid.
Absolutely.
So you're
young, fast. He can do it all.
That game winner just to get into the tournament
was
that speaks for itself. Not afraid of the moment.
Yep,
absolutely.
But he just adds more youth, a little bit of size, and speed all over the board, so they can shift some of their other guys around.
Absolutely,
that rounds out my top
all of this 10. All of this could change. Obviously, there's going to be trades and stuff like that.
Yep.
Just one more thing that I want to add. My sleeper pick for this draft, he could definitely go in the top 20. Even top 15 if a team's willing to take a gamble on him. Aaron Holiday from UCLA.
Yep.
The stats that he was able to put up, I mean, I can't I can't even begin to tell you what kind of athlete this guy is, and shooting well over 40% from the 3-point line. I don't remember how many assists per game it was, but I know it was, I believe, 7 or 8 assists a game. Well over 20 points.
5.8 assists per game average.
So six
that was in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, so for the season stats, I'm pretty sure it was higher than 6 last time I checked. But just the fact that, you have a guy like Drew Holiday, this is his brother. Justin Holiday is also in the league. I believe he played for the Bulls.
Yep.
He had an okay season, but this guy could be better than both of them. Just from what I've seen, not just in the tournament, but all season long. UCLA in the Pac-12. I mean, that's personally, I think it's a better conference than the Big 12. Less top-heavy, more competition, and that UCLA is just a prestigious school. So, and the fact that they also lost LiAngelo Ball, not that he was great, but he was a good shooter. And that's another question mark for this draft. Will the Lakers end up taking him with their second round pick?
I doubt it.
No.
I doubt it. I feel like Magic's about tired with the Ball family.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I don't
anyone
want you
give him a
to.
chance in this draft.
But I'm tired of that Ball family. That's like watching the Kardashians. No offense to anybody that does like the Kardashians.
It's a sports version of
yeah,
Kardashians.
I can't stand it. I hate it. But I feel like every team's going to stay away from Ball just for the headache.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah. Because especially with this scandal in China and the whole thing.
Yeah, that's another big issue is off-court issues in another country, especially.
Yeah, out of the country stuff. That's then you get the government's involved, and you never want to have to deal with that.
Absolutely.
And come on, man. What, you're 19, 20 years old? Why are you stealing sunglasses?
And you're living an amazing life.
I'm about to say your brother and your dad's making millions of dollars. Just ask them, like, hey, can I get some Ray-Bans?
Yeah. I'm sure they'll have no issue getting them for you.
Anyway, but no, I think that's I would more or less agree when it comes to the back half of the draft. Anything could happen. I had Colin Sexton going to the Knicks. That's the one thing I would change. The Cavs, I either had Wendell Carter or I had Mikal Bridges from Villanova.
Yep.
Because he's just an NBA-ready player, just like I think Wendell Carter's an NBA-ready player. Colin Sexton, I think he'd fit good with the Knicks, him and Kristaps and Cantor. I think they could run a good 1-2-3. And then also Michael Beasley, if he can stay at that level of what he's been playing. If you pair Colin Sexton alongside Trey Burke, because he had a handful of games at the end of the season where he just went off.
Right.
If he can even come back with a percentage of what the level he was playing at, I think the Knicks are looking at probably making the playoffs in the East. So
right, yeah.
Well, and I like that pick with Mikal Bridges up there a little bit. No one helped their draft stock more this year than he did in that tournament. With Nova winning the championship and just his numbers in the tournament, he played phenomenally. So I can definitely see him going to the top 10.
I think was a big
absolutely.
key. Him and I can't say his name, Diva Deno.
DiVincenzo.
Dante
DiVincenzo.
I can't say his name, but I expect him to get drafted as well. But I don't see him. As a top 15, top 20 pick.
Late first round or early second.
Absolutely. I think he's a guy that anyone would like to have, but I think Mikal is the most NBA-ready player.
I think DiVincenzo's draft stock dropped a little bit, too, with all that stuff that came out about his tweets on Twitter and whatnot. So that might drop
I still
a little
think
bit.
Stuff that happens years ago, you should.
Yeah, dude was like 14. It's not an excuse, but...
It's not an excuse, but kids will be kids.
Yep.
Let's just let it go.
We've all done stupid things as kids.
Absolutely. And I'm sure there's some things that we're glad Twitter doesn't pick up.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
But no, with that said, more or less, we're pretty much the same here.
Give or take, swapping a couple guys.
The only thing
to a
that I would
couple
change
teams.
is I think Michael Porter's going to drop down to the Bulls. I would like to see him go there. And then also I got Trae Young going to the Magic.
Okay.
So you guys are over here talking about sleeper picks. There's one pick that I want to talk about that you guys may disagree with me, but whatever. That's how this works. Mo Wagner. I feel like Mo Wagner
love to see him go early.
Is a potential sleeper. He's a big
he'll
body.
Go.
Do you think? I think he may go top 20.
I think you're pushing it that.
You think I'm pushing Mo Wagner?
I would like to
20?
see him go that early,
point,
but I think it's
I think he could definitely go like 25, 30.
So so lower than top 20.
I think he would benefit most to me if he was on a
playoff ready
team. Yeah. At least a competitive team.
Right.
So if he got picked up by, let's say, not that Houston needs him, but if he got drafted by Houston, something like if he fell that far, I'm sure Golden State would love him on his bench.
Because they don't have they got what's that? JaVale McGee.
Yeah,
he's not a bad 5 spot.
I'm sure Boston would love to have him, but because they would bench Baines in a second to get him.
Baines has no business being on that court.
But
that dude does nothing.
Al Horford, I think that'd be a good guy to learn from. Big Al.
Oh, for sure.
And he's got to be on a limited number of seasons here coming up. Big Al's getting up there in age, right?
He's 32.
Yeah, 32 so he's getting up there. But
one more sleeper pick before we switch topics here in this segment. I want to talk about the Raptors getting into the Kostas Antetokounmpo drills and a draft workout. That's who Masai Ujiri has been eyeballing, our general manager. I say our general manager because I'm a Raptors fan. But I would love to have Kostas fill that 3 spot, and then we could maybe even move him to the 4 because he's not done growing. And then we already got OG Anunoby from last year. Hell of a rookie season for him. I felt like he should have been on all-rookie first team, but that's just me. I'm glad that he made a team. I think that 3 spot, if we can just get that solidified, I think the Raptors are in good shape, and maybe look to trade Kyle Lowry for a younger player.
I was going to say, who's going to have to go? It's going to be Kyle Lowry,
I think I would rather trade. Well, he's making more money than DeRozan right now.
And that's
you got to keep
senseless.
DeRozan.
And
that's
DeRozan
senseless.
can also, well, it's only because the cap jump and that he signed his contract a year earlier. Which, again, that Chris Paul and the Player Association is doing to raise the cap.
Right.
But with that said, I think that they need to trade Lowry. Not that I don't like him, but the fact that he's pretty much done growing as a player. He's going to be on the decline here very soon.
He's at the end. He's only putting up like 12 points a game and like 8 assists or something like that.
Actually, I think this past year, I think he did put up 15.
15.
But DeRozan's scoring also came down, but his assists came up. And I think that if he can get his...
But DeRozan's got a lot more potential.
He's only 28 years old. So he's definitely got room to grow. He's in
he
the
can
prime
get that
of his
scoring
career.
back up.
If he can learn how to shoot 3-pointers, I think we'll be in business because then we'll be able to space the floor more.
Yep.
We already saw Valanciunas take some 3-pointers this season. I'm pretty sure he shot over 30%.
Yep.
I've never seen... I'll tell you, the damnedest thing I've ever seen in my life was when I went to that Pacers game and he banged a 3. That was something special. But no, I just want to say, Kostas Antetokounmpo, he's probably going to be a sleeper pick. I hope that he falls to us because we definitely need some help.
If he ends up going to Toronto, that's going to be a fun matchup to watch with Toronto and then Milwaukee.
That's
going to be fun.
They'll play at least 3 times a year.
Absolutely.
I would love to see the brothers go at it.
Yeah, for sure.
I still think Greek Freak, his older brother, I still think he'll take him to town.
Oh, absolutely.
But it'd be fun to watch.
Yeah.
But no, with that said, we're going to go ahead and switch gears here. We're going to get into the MLB standings specifically. One thing I want to ask you guys, mostly because you guys are a lot more knowledgeable in the MLB than I am. But one thing that I do want to know is MLB standings and how they're shaping up after the first couple months of the season. What has surprised you? What's disappointed you? Really, anything that you guys want to get into right now. Cale, I want to go ahead and start with you.
So the one thing that really surprises me is the Seattle Mariners. They're putting up some fantastic numbers. Their record is, I can't remember their record off the top of my head. I'm going to have somebody look that up for me.
Give me a second.
But on Saturday the 16th, they played the Red Sox, who is obviously the hottest team in baseball right now.
Absolutely.
On both sides. Their pitcher, Wade LeBlanc, retired 22 straight batters. 22 straight. There's 27 outs in the game of baseball. He retired 22 straight. He averaged, 7.2, allowing 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, tallying 9 Ks. The Mariners are actually 46-25. That may have changed since Saturday.
46-26 now. They're a game and a half back from Houston.
Okay, well the Houston too. They're on like an 11-game heater right now, so that's
they're coming fresh off a World
Fresh
Series.
off a World Series, and they're
so
putting
being
together.
close to that is great for Seattle.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're Houston really didn't change their lineup or roster too much. No. They still got Carrera. They still got Altuve. They still got that big man. I can't remember what his name is. That DH. He's a behemoth of a human. He's an absolute unit. But going off of that, I want to get switching gears, and I want to stay in the NL Central because, with being in Champaign-Urbana, I feel like now almost the majority of residents that live here are NL Central fans, whether it be the Cubs or the Cards. There's a few White Sox fans in here, occasionally Yankees fans, but, Cubs and Cards fans outweigh those numbers.
I think it's about 44, 1%, and then 1% off.
Yeah, for sure. So this weekend, Milwaukee dropped a few. They dropped a few key ones. It's only June, so we can't really say key games yet because it's only June. Right. We're not even to the All-Star break yet. But one thing that Milwaukee did, though, they were tied as of last night. With the Cubs lost, I think they did.
Cubs are a half game back now.
They did regain the lead, even though the Brewers lost to the Phillies yesterday. Yep. They lost like 10-9 or something like that. But the Brewers made a lot of incredible moves this year, this offseason, with signing Christian Yelich, Lorenzo Cain, getting him the contract extension. They also reworked their entire bullpen, too. They got some decent bullpen pitching coming out of the Milwaukee Brewers bullpen. But, it all starts in baseball with your pitching and how well you guys are going to pitch. And that Travis Shaw, I think his name is, or Shaw, Andrew Shaw. Nah, he's the defenseman for the Hawks. He used to be. But anyway, I think his name's Travis Shaw. He's pitching phenomenally when he comes in to relieve, and I think he's only 22 years old. Just like Jack Flaherty used to be. or Jack Flaherty, the pitcher for the Cubs or the Cardinals last night. He's a decent pitcher. He's young. He's got some talent, but he's just a young junk baller. You know, he doesn't have very much velocity. He was throwing well in the upper 90s, 6s, but that's only because he's 22. He's got that.
Real quick, I just got an update on my phone. This is just a quick NBA update. The Raptors are looking to trade anyone on the roster for a top 10 pick. Mushai Ujiri is dead set on getting University of Kentucky Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, that'd be a
fill in
solid
their
pick.
3 spots.
Yeah.
So now that I say Kostas, I guess we're looking to move up in the draft. I just wanted to say that Raptors, no one is safe on the roster. They want a top 10 pick in the draft.
For sure.
There you go.
But yeah, the Cubs card series, you know, obviously people are around here saying that it was a major series. Well, when you're in June, you're not even halfway through the season. So to me, that's not an important series. Now, it is an important series for the Cubs to win because that put them back in first. They've been teetering that.
Put them 3.5 games up on the Cardinals too.
Yeah, yeah.
So it gives them a little bit of breathing room.
But as you know, and I know, the Brewers are going to fall off after the All-Star break, statistically speaking.
Yep.
They have the last 3 years. So I'm not really concerned about the Brewers, you know, staying up there on the top of the NL Central.
They've been pleasantly surprising so far, leading the way almost the whole first half of the season. But yeah, statistically they will fall off. They're good for it. They fall off almost every year, and I'm not saying they'll fall off greatly. Like I said, they've been a surprise. They've been really pleasant to watch. It makes the NL Central competitive, not between 2 teams, but 3 teams.
3.
Right. And if you do expect them to fall off, I mean, if the Cubs and Cards are right there with them, then you're in good shape. I mean, even if they got a half game, 2 games up on you, you're looking good.
Oh yeah.
Right. Oh, for sure. The Cubs have been a half a game back, or at least a game back or a half a game back for the last couple of weeks now. So they're hanging right there with them. It's just that
they were even up at one point, like a game or something
for a day, for like a day or 2.
And you also have to keep in mind, I just want to touch on something real quick, is that if the Cubs and the Cards and the Brewers are all fighting for that top spot, I mean, this is good news for the Pirates.
Yeah,
for the Pirates.
They're 6 or 7 games back right now.
They're 7
games
right now.
7 games back. This is good for them to try and get back in the race because, like you said, the season's not even half over with, and they're still looking to get in it.
Right, absolutely.
And it's very possible that 3 of these teams could make the playoffs. You get
no doubt
both of the wild cards coming from the NL Central.
So with that NL Central, at the end of the year, Tyson, and I'm going to ask Tyson first, Gavin.
Sure.
Tyson, who do you think is going to come out on top? And don't be biased because we're both Cubs fans, so we got to kind of keep that to a minimum. But who do you think is going to come out on top with the players and the potential and everything else accounted for it?
I say the Cubs, not to be biased, but our pitching has been not very good so far.
Right.
If our starting rotation can get their stuff together, Lester's 8-2 right now, couple no decisions. He's doing okay. But Kyle Hendricks, Q 5-6, 6-5, Chatwood's at 3-5. Mike Montgomery's at 2-2 as a starter, and Yu has been just
you can't stay healthy.
Yeah,
Yu's been on the disabled list
even
twice
when
now.
he was healthy.
And we're not
even
we're just now a quarter of the way through the season, and he's been on the disabled list twice. Once with the flu, you can't really control the flu.
He's played 8 games total. So far.
And in those 8 games, how many no decisions does he have?
He had 4 no decisions, and he's 1-3 in the 4 that did.
That's bad.
Not good for $126 million.
$126 million is what we spent on him. Arrieta wanted $100 million, and now look what he's doing with the Phillies.
Yep.
We could have had Arrieta on this roster instead of Darvish, who stays healthy, takes care of his body, and he's still throwing heat.
I don't think that there'd be a question who's in first place right now.
Absolutely
no,
not. Absolutely not.
If we get what's Arrieta got 9 wins, 10 wins already.
Yeah, almost.
Add those to we're up 8 games on the Brewers.
Darvish doesn't even have a quality start.
No.
I mean, I don't get
the only win he has, it was a game that the Cubs put up like 10 runs in the first 2 innings.
And if he would have lost it, I probably would have was okay with this guy. Get him out. Okay, but anyway, off of that, I will. Since you touched on Mike Montgomery, he's normally a bullpen pitcher.
Yep, he's got 22 appearances this year.
He's coming out as a replacement while Darvish is on the DL. And being 2-2,
he's still better than Darvish.
Still better than Darvish. Still better than Chatwood. Chatwood is having a lot of control issues, a lot of command issues. I mean, he's throwing. If you look at it, if you could find, it'd be bad radio, but if you could find a spray chart online somewhere of Tyler Chatwood's pitches in the last like 4 or 5 games, you're going to go up in the strike zone, above batters' heads. They're going to be behind them. They're going to be down, bouncing before the dirt. I mean, he just cannot find the strike zone. And I don't know whether it's a mechanics issue, whether he's got something, physical bothering him or what.
I think it's being new team, big town. Lots of expectations coming from a championship caliber team. I think people want him to. It's a lot of pressure on him right now. I think he'll settle down after the break and start winning a couple more games.
That's one thing with Joe Madden, though, is that he will get players accommodated. You just got to give him some time, although I don't like the fact that he tweaks the lineup all the time. But moving on.
I mean, we may not like it, but, I mean, if that's going to get you a championship-caliber team or championship-caliber tactics, I mean, he's been there before, and they want him doing that kind of thing. So, I mean, you can't change what's not broke.
Absolutely. So let's move on a little bit, Tyson. In your opinion, who do you feel like the best Cub is right now?
Best Cub, I got Javi Baez.
Solid choice.
Dude is playing outstanding. He's not even very big, 6-foot frame on a good day in his cleats, but he's leading the team in home runs. I think he's at 15 now, 14 right now.
14.
Playing outstanding defense. I think he's got one error on the year.
In those 14 home runs, he's got 46 RBIs to top of that.
Yeah, he's leading the team in RBIs.
46 RBIs.
Dude's playing outstanding right now. I think he's all around leading the team right now, especially with Chris Bryant in his slump. Hopefully he's coming out of that here. Played well the last couple games, but right now I think Javi's kind of taking that team and he's trying to pull them up, lead them.
Javi's tagging ability is off the charts. He's so
Quickest
athletic.
dude
I mean, he's the best middle infielder we've had in a long time. And he has to stay here. We have to do whatever it takes for him to stay. He doesn't want to leave Chicago. He absolutely loves Chicago.
No, and that's what you want in a player if you're going to keep him.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. All of these guys that are here love Chicago. They love the atmosphere. They love the manager. They love the front office. And it all starts with the front office. If your players can get along with that front office, unlike what Chris Sale did and ended up having to be traded out.
Yep.
Absolutely.
From
Which
the White
was such
Sox.
a disappointment for the Sox.
Chris Sale was such a dominant pitcher, and you threw in Katana within that.
Oh my God,
that was a dominant duo.
He was a top 10
Absolutely.
pitcher.
Yeah,
he was a top 10 pitcher almost every year he played. He just played for a crap organization,
and they wouldn't put anybody in there.
Yep,
which is terrible.
Wouldn't help him out.
Now they got Jose Abreu and Yohan Moncada.
Yep.
Yohan Moncada's putting up some decent stats, but that's it. All they have is Abreu and Moncada, especially with Wellington Castillo going on the 80-day or getting an 80-game suspension for PEDs along with Robinson Cano.
Right.
That's another big factor.
Well, here's the thing: is they do have their guys in the minors right now.
Yes, they're building up their farm system.
When they finally decide to bring them up, I think that they'll be in good shape as long as they still have those two guys on the roster.
They're still the third worst team in baseball. They're going to need a lot of help.
Well, I mean, just to be competitive. Obviously, this isn't going to turn them into a championship
World Series
team.
Yeah,
but
maybe not even a playoff team, but it gets them close.
No, but it could turn them into a top 15 team, which I would almost guarantee that they'd be the 15th best team in baseball after that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so, they could be up there, like the Cubs did it. They took the Cubs forever. When Jed Hoyer and Theo Epstein took over, they rebuilt that farm system. You know, in baseball, you have to have a solid farm foundation before you can bring your guys up. It don't matter how many guys you draft.
If you have a crap feeder system in the MLB, it screws you.
Yeah, you're not going to do anything.
You might be good for a year or two, but after your year or two's up, you run out of all that stuff at the bottom, and you just have nothing to fill in your holes.
You got to treat the MLB kind of like a high school system with freshman, JV, and varsity.
Yep, exactly.
You treat your freshman guys to prepare them for varsity. You give them 3 years. When time comes, they're ready to go.
Right.
So, back to Javi Baez. Let's get back on that real quick. In 243 ABs, the dude's got 39 runs, 62 hits, 11 doubles, 5 triples, 14 homers, 46 RBIs.
Yeah, he's on pace for like 47 doubles and 14 triples or something this year and 30 home runs.
The only complaint that I have about Javi Baez is that 66 strikeouts.
Yeah.
He's got to tighten up that plate discipline. I mean,
he's still young. He's still learning.
He swings at something that I couldn't even hit with a 9-iron. And then he'll swing at something that's 4 feet above his head. You know, he's just got to tighten that plate discipline up a little bit.
See, that's something I've noticed just from watching him. And I'm not a Cub fan.
Right.
But I've watched him before, and that's the one thing that comes with who he is that he will give you everything he has for any game.
Every play.
Every play.
Okay.
And what sucks is that Javi took one in the elbow last night.
Yep.
He took I think it was like a 97-mile-an-hour heater. It took in the elbow.
I think the X-rays came back negative.
It was just a contusion. But playing baseball for so many years, you get hit in that elbow, and your whole lower arm down to your hand just goes numb. I mean, you can't feel it. You don't regain that feeling. So that sucks. I hope he gets back, pretty quickly because he is helping the team a lot.
One thing I wanted to finish with that is that the way that he plays with his heart, he'll give you everything he has. What comes along with that is he believes he can hit anything that's thrown at him.
Oh yeah.
That's why
there's no doubt about that.
He's got the confidence.
That's the one issue
swagger.
that you have is you love a guy that plays with heart, but when you have that, I would rather have a guy play with heart and bring him back than someone I have to push to get that out of him.
Baez, when he strikes out, probably 70% of the time, 75% of the time, I'll say he's striking out swinging. He's never striking out
absolutely.
looking.
No,
and if you're going to strike out, even on that pitch may be 4 foot in the dirt, strike out swinging. Seriously, swing at it. And managers, everybody would love to watch you sit there, strike out swinging and strike out looking. That's what they tell you in little leagues. But moving on, I'm going to tell you about my favorite Cub right now, the one who's
yeah.
producing the most. That's going to be Jason Hayward. Jason Hayward right now is just putting up unreal numbers. Everybody's kind of sleeping on him. You know, when the Cubs acquired him, they weren't acquiring him based on his bat. He's never. I mean, he's had an average bat per se, but he's like a 4 or 5 time Gold Glover, and he's 26.
Yep.
You know, somebody who's won 4 or 5 Gold Gloves already, and is being 26 years old. The defense is what amazes me. The defense will always top my plate appearances any day.
Well, you need a guy that's he'll put his body on the line for you.
Mm-hmm.
He lays out every play.
Absolutely.
And
he made that really nice catch last night.
Yeah, diving, grabbing, and didn't even
steal
look,
Yachty's.
Didn't even look like he did anything.
Nope.
Just flawless, smooth, and he flows.
Well, especially when it makes it look effortless.
But last year, he had 126 games. He had 481 plate appearances, 11 home runs, 59 runs scored, 59 RBIs with a 259 average. That's in 481 plate appearances. 2018, he's had 204 plate appearances. About half. We're close. With 4 homers, 25 runs, 30 RBIs already, batting 269 through 52 games.
So it's increased from last year, and that's what
exponentially.
Absolutely. Well, and if he's able to keep that through the season, that's what you expect.
His swing somehow was so messed up when he got here that they had to completely rework it.
They spent 3 years reworking that swing, and it's finally getting there.
Whatever they did was just they hired Chili Davis as their batting coach too, that's a big hire. Yeah. But whatever they did with his swing is just they need to keep it that way. He just needs to keep driving the ball because he's a big body. I mean, he's a big frame.
Oh, he's a big old bear.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's huge.
6'8",
6'8", like 230, and he's strong.
Yeah,
strong.
And that's what I wanted to add to. That's my favorite thing about him is that he's just a big body.
He can hit the ball.
He's a shade thinner than LeBron.
Yeah.
He's basically LeBron out here playing baseball.
Absolutely.
He can hit the ball oppo with ease.
Oh, absolutely.
KB can't even do that. KB can't hit oppo. KB can't hit a home run right now. He can't buy one, although he did hit one this World Series, but he just can't hit. For whatever reason, he needs to get out of that slump because he's one of our top-tier batters. But moving on from that, we talked about the Cubs. The Cardinals, I'll talk about the Cardinals more as the season goes on when they're not playing the Cubs, basically because I'm a big Cubs fan.
Oh, you talk about them now. They lost.
They lost, for sure.
Yeah.
But I want to get on to the potential free agency right now. Who do you feel like is the biggest free agent?
Right now, for me, it's got to be Manny Machado. There's been talks about him all year.
Manny Machado may end up in Chicago.
Talks about coming to the Cubs. I was real excited about that for a while.
That's just the real key player that I want to talk about is Manny Machado. That dude puts up excellent numbers. He's just a force.
Well, and talking about like teams that need to make a splash at the deadline, even though it's not a good splash, at this point, Baltimore, I think they just need to abort on the season. They are so bad right now. Abort, get something for Manny Machado, trade off, get some farm league players, get a good starting pitcher, do something, but you got to get him out of there so you can kind of rebuild your team.
Manny Machado this season has 18 home runs, 53 RBIs, 4 stolen bases with a 310 batting average.
Yep.
So that's good numbers. I'm all for getting rid of Addison Russell.
Agreed.
Addison Russell's that issue he had off the field last season.
I think about to say last season pretty much.
He hasn't been the same.
Yeah.
His head's not in it.
He made a stupid mistake last night too. He had an error against him. Javi's had some of those days as well, but Russell's just not performing at the plate.
Especially since that performance in the World Series, he played great.
Yes,
right.
I mean,
he was one of the main guys to step up.
Absolutely.
So
and you expected that out of a young guy that stick around for the next 8-10 years, and now it's like we don't even want him anymore.
Right.
I say we. You know what I mean. As the Cubs, it's. Yeah, I would be looking to move him.
But
I'm sure some team would want him too, just for the potential.
I feel like the Orioles would take him.
I think
for the trade,
yeah, absolutely.
For the trade value. If we could get rid of Addison Russell, possibly, I hate to say this because he's such a utility guy, Tommy La Stella, for Manny Machado to hopefully buy us a ring, because we could put Manny at short, or Manny can play second too, and we could keep Javi at short. But Javi has kind of fit in at that second base role, and we need to keep Javi there because that's where he performs the best.
Yep. But we could put Javi at short and move Happy to second.
Move Happy to second.
Or
Zoe. We still got Zoe for 2 years, I think, on his contract.
Yep. My favorite Cub, by the way.
Well, he's from Eureka, Illinois.
Yeah,
not a lot of people know that.
Absolutely.
So, an Illinois native playing for the Chicago Cubs with two World Series rings.
Two.
With KC and the Cubs.
Yep.
Played for Joe Madden, too, in Tampa.
Which is funny because I didn't like him when he played in Kansas City. But now that he's here, I'll look past that.
Real humble guy.
Absolutely.
He's just a genuine human being.
Absolutely,
for sure.
He's one of the guys that make the sport of baseball actually just baseball. Baseball is America's pastime. Obviously, it's my favorite sport. It always will be, especially when the Cubs are playing well. But I don't know. That's just about all the MLB stuff I have for today. Is we just got to watch that. I'm going to call it for this podcast the Manny Machado radar.
Yeah,
we got to figure out where he's going to go and if we can land him.
Well, one more thing that I'd like to touch on, just because I'm a Blue Jays fan, and the fact that we're pretty much out of it at this point, being 8 games behind second place. J.A. Happ, I know the Yankees and the Mariners are interested. I don't think that we'll trade him to a division rival, but Seattle definitely could use him.
J.A. Happ's never going to go to the Yankees.
Yeah, so if we
Seattle's
trade him to
hot.
Seattle, I mean, this guy's 8-3 as a starter already this year, and the Blue Jays are still under 500. So
Seattle could use that.
Seattle's
and it could boost them. It could put them to that next level.
If we can trade them for a couple young pieces moving forward, I think that we'd be in good shape because I don't know how long Donaldson has. I don't know how long Tulowitzki has. We'll have to see. Kevin Pillar could still stick around for a few years. He's a great outfielder.
Yeah, he is.
But other than that, I mean, we've lost big bats. We've lost Encarnacion. We've lost Batista. So it's like I don't know what direction the team's going in right now.
That Batista trade, though, in my opinion, was not bad.
It wasn't terrible, but I feel like
he's getting old.
Yeah,
you got to think. All these guys can only play for so long.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Are we hitting the reset button or not?
That's the question. Is that you guys,
exactly.
your front office doesn't exactly know if you want to hit that reset button or if we're going to try to make what we have work or try to pick up somebody at the deadline.
Absolutely.
But J.A. Happ, being from Peru, Illinois, a lot of guys don't know that either. Being 35, he's not going to the Yankees. There's no way. They got Mauricio.
But I'm saying the Yankees have. They have the pieces to be able to make the trade work and entice the Jays to take it. But I don't think that Toronto would send him to New York.
They're not going to purposely screw themselves.
No,
season's upcoming.
No,
absolutely not.
No, I swear he's going to fit better, or that trade will fit better for New York. But he's going to end up in Seattle. New York.
I think if you put Happ on Seattle, I mean, your chances of even going to the World Series automatically increase.
Yeah,
so
because then they got another top tier pitcher.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that J.A. Happ trade, that's going to be another one we can add to the radar because that's going to be kind of fun to see. But actually, let's talk about one more thing, just real quick. Let's just touch on it.
I had one thing I wanted to talk about.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say a couple pleasant surprises, a couple disappointments this year. How about Atlanta for a surprise? They were awful last year.
Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman.
First in their division this year, outstanding. Also, I like to see San Francisco back up in the running for the NL West. They're only 4.5 games back right now from Arizona. They're only like a game and a half behind Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers.
Yep.
So it's good to see them back up there.
Which somebody take them down.
Which they were last in their division last year too. So it's good to see San Francisco back up there. As far as disappointments go, Colorado, after getting second in their division last year, making the playoffs, last in their division or close to it, they're not very. Unastounding to say the least. They're disappointing for sure.
That's going to set up Nolan Arenado's future too.
And the New York Mets.
Yeah.
Such a good team for the last couple of years. Played phenomenally, and they're just out of it this year.
Especially after trading for Batista, thinking that would be another piece to help them get that playoff push, and then it's just not really worked out for them.
I'm glad you brought up the Mets. Let's talk about Jake DeGrom.
Oh,
Jacob DeGrom. I feel I feel for the guy.
Yep.
He's an amazing pitcher, but like over his last 10 starts, this was like as of last week. I can't remember. I can't actually tell you the day because I can't remember. But as of last week, he was 2-8 with throwing 69 and 2/3 innings or something like that, and having phenomenal starts. So like an ERA, and I don't even think it was a 1. I think it was in the point 3.4 something like that. Averaging 15 strikeouts. But he's 2-8
because he plays for a crapshoot team.
He's 2-8.
That's unfathomable.
Yep.
He let up 1 run in those 10 games. He got pulled. The bullpen came in and gave up 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's just unreal. I don't get it. I feel Jake DeGrom's got to go. He's got to get out of New York. Him and Syndergaard both.
Yep.
Because they have two of
phenomenal, great pitchers.
Two of the best pitchers in MLB right now, along with Scherzer and Strasburg.
Yep.
Well, and they've got the next 6 weeks to look for a deal too.
Absolutely. But the problem is I don't think their contracts will allow them to look for a deal either.
Right.
Because I think they're locked.
They are.
I think they're both
if
locked.
If they want out, the Mets will have to trade them.
Yeah, and they're not going to do that.
They're not going to do that. But I mean, you would have to think in 6 weeks if they're that bad. I mean, and you can get something else for them,
Yep.
they may consider.
The Mets are gonna want so much for Jacob deGrom. Though.
Oh yeah.
But you have to think, at a World Series contender, are you willing to give up a lot for that kind of
It
pitching?
depends on what you're giving up.
Right.
Which is true. But, I mean, if pitching is what you need and you have a lot of, you have a good outfield, you have a spare infielder, an aging infielder that you can give up.
As the Cubs, I give a couple of our starters and a
Who would you give up?
That, Chatwood.
For sure.
I know he's new. We just got him.
signed him this offseason.
I'd give him Chatwood and Q. Quintana, just because. I really like Quintana. I like having a big left-hander in the lineup, but they're going to want something. And
That's
I would
the
give
thing.
him Q and Quintana and Addison Russell if they really need something else, a spare infielder.
But if we pick up deGrom, does that hurt our chances of getting Harper next year?
Takes on a big contract, cuts out some of that money.
That's a big issue because we got to remember 2022 Bryant's up, 2021 Rizzo's up.
Yep, got
Contreras
a lot of big
is up,
contracts coming up in a
2023.
couple years.
We got a lot of money we're going to have to shell
Yeah,
out.
the next 2 to 3
Especially
years,
if we
you're gonna
acquire Harper.
You're gonna have to start looking at the books and consider what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
So,
And that's why all of these guys essentially are
But
playing
I
for a
think
position.
deGrom's only got 2 or 3 years left on his
Yeah.
contract, so it wouldn't be an extended period of time that we had to pay him.
deGrom's only 29, which is
Yeah.
kind of still right in the middle
Still
of
in
the
his
career
prime.
for a pitcher.
absolutely.
Because about 27 to probably 33 to 35 is
That's
the
when
optimal
your-
age
It's when
for
your
a
arm
pitcher.
starts wearing down after that.
And you start getting Tommy Johns and
Yeah.
everything else. You lose velocity, but once you lose velocity, you can overcome that with working on your junk pitches, your curveballs, your sliders, your backdoor changeups. So,
And some of the nastiest pitches come in later in your career.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's
John Lester throws a mean slider, a mean backdoor slider. It's also because he's left-handed, so it's going to break a lot more. But
Right.
but he's also 34. So yeah. But that's about it for the MLB for me today. Unless you guys got
No,
anything
no,
else to add.
touch on.
Cover
sure.
everything I wanted to talk about.
Well,
For sure.
That's all we got for today. We only had the NBA and MLB lined up, but we hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Like we said, it's the first episode, so we're still working on it. Any suggestions, go ahead and leave it in the comments. After all, this is on YouTube, so, don't hold your tongue. Criticisms, critiques, compliments, anything you guys want to go ahead and leave us, we're open to it. Make sure to follow us on our social media on Twitter at Twin City Trio.
Yep.
Go ahead and put that in the search bar. Don't forget to hit the red subscribe button down there below the video and hit that bell icon so you don't miss a beat. But that's going to do it. This has been the Twin City Trio podcast. My name's Gavin Campbell, Tyson Synder, Cale Fleming. We'll see you next time.